that implies that these agreements, this Abraham Accord that Israel has announced, that it implies that Mr. Netanyahu already has in place the go-ahead from other Arab nations to bomb Iran.
Or at least that they won't interfere with the process.
It's less of a peace accord than more of a war
Sounds
alliance.
like a war council.
Right.
Hey, we'll make peace. We won't bomb you if you let us bomb them.
Nothing makes a great war like peace, Rick. So.
Isn't that really what the
absolutely
Abraham
what it is.
Accord is? We won't bomb you if you let us bomb them.
Your neighbor, yeah.
That's okay. Well, let's go on to the next one. Number 8. This is Mr. Netanyahu blaming Iran and Hezbollah for the massive bomb that exploded in Beirut.
Iran wantonly and repeatedly attacks its neighbors, and its terror proxies are directly involved in violence throughout the Middle East, including in Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Gaza, and of course, Lebanon. We all saw the terrible explosion at Beirut port last month. The explosion happened here. This is the Beirut port. 200 people died, thousands of people were injured, and 250,000 people were made homeless. Now here's where the next explosion could take place, right here. This is the Beirut neighborhood of Janah. It's right next to the international airport. And here, Hezbollah is keeping a secret arms depot. This secret arms depot right here is adjacent, a meter away from a gas company. These are gas canisters, right here. It's a few meters away from a gas station. It's 50 meters away from the gas company. Here are more gas trucks. And it's embedded in civilian housing here, civilian housing here. The Janah neighborhood residents, this is the actual coordinates. So I want to show you the entrance to Hezbollah's missile factory, because that's what it is. It's right here. This is the gas company, and this is the missile explosive depot. I say to the people of Janah, you've got to act now. You've got to protest this, because if this thing explodes, it's another tragedy. I say to the people of Lebanon, Israel means you no harm, but Iran does. Iran and Hezbollah have deliberately put you and your families in grave danger. And what you should make clear is what they have done is unacceptable. You should tell them, tear these depots down. Just a few days ago, one of these depots exploded at Ain Qana in South Lebanon. And that is why the international community must insist that Hezbollah stop using Lebanon and Lebanese civilians as human shields.
The man is a psycho.
Telling the Lebanese, rise up and protest while they're locking down Israel against protesting.
As people in Israel rise up against.
But he's showing everybody,
This is the target.
here's the target, it's going to blow up, it's near a gas line. That's a psycho.
If you live in that neighborhood, you better do something. You better rise up. I mean, can you imagine seeing a map, you're looking at that map and say, hey, that's my neighborhood, that's where I live.
Well, the IDF tweeted the bombing coordinates in case you didn't get the message.
Yes, it's true, Rick. They actually did. The Israeli Defense Forces actually sent out the coordinates of what they're calling the missile strikes.
This is psychotic. Because again, put it on another shoe. If Hezbollah or Iran or another country had put out the direct coordinates for the embassy in Israel, for a government building downtown, a military base, Israel and America would be saying they're planning to attack. They're giving the beginnings to a terrorist attack.
He's gaslighting them, isn't he?
Well, in this case, literally.
Yes, he's lighting the gas.
So,
all right, now I want to go back to our guys in control to 4B. This is the political problem Mr. Netanyahu has. Israel's Attorney General not ruling out, declaring Netanyahu, look at this word, incapacitated over abuse of office.
now, before everyone starts accusing us of anything, this is from Haaretz. This is from the Jewish newspaper in Israel. This is
incapacitated.
Now, what's that word incapacitated? Just in general, anybody in the audience, what does that word generally incapacitated mean? If your mother or father, if they were incapacitated, what would be the image of them?
Vegetable.
I think knocked out.
Knocked out, incapacitated, unable to move. Politically, it means defanged, stripped of power. It can also be a euphemism for removal in whatever way that is necessary.
And this is coming from an attorney general.
Yeah, and none of these interpretations are good.
All right, so imagine Attorney General Barr said today, I can't rule out that President Trump will be incapacitated.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine the uproar?
What would that mean?
That would mean...
What would we be saying right now? What did Attorney General Barr mean by using the word incapacitated?
Does that mean he's going to be injured, that he's going to get sick, that he's going to be unable to function? What does that
25th
mean?
Amendment?
Yeah, but for us, the only constitutional legal mechanism would be
The 25th Amendment means they're going to take him out in a straitjacket. So that's the Attorney General, who is so far has gone out of his way to protect Netanyahu. So apparently, Mr. Mendelblit he's at the end of the road, and he's saying, I can't take this anymore. I'm not going to protect him anymore. And then you have to wonder, with Mr. Netanyahu telling the UN, right there's going to be explosion right there. Look at this
I'm
map.
showing you.
I'm showing you. I know for a fact there's going to be a big explosion right there. And then going to a war memorial and saying, I can't promise you I'm not going to start another war. Is the Attorney General saying, hey, this guy's out of control?
I imagine.
Did he, the lockdown, is there really a massive increase in coronavirus, or does the Attorney General know that Netanyahu made up the numbers?
Well, I'm sure the Attorney General took history in high school and in college, and he knows that the 67 war, 1967, the Six-Day War, Israel, about 5 months before that war, had already begun to prepare their population, digging trenches, fortifying towns. If that's what they're doing here, it's
And if he doesn't know about the 67 war, he could watch Sacrificing Liberty.
Oh, absolutely.
That's right.
Because you can go to sacrificingliberty.com and watch the 4-part docuseries.
That's right.
And I had a friend today who watched it today. He took the day off to watch. He's self-employed.
That's a good day spent.
He's self-employed, but he took the day off and watched it.
And so all during the afternoon, we're working here at the office. I'm getting tweets from him, messages from him on my phone. Oh, I'm so mad right now. And I said, what part are you on? I'm on at the end of part 1. And so I
kept telling him.
wait till you get to part 4.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
He was
Sacrificing Liberty. Go there and watch the movie. Make sure you get this movie. But there was a prime minister in 1967 that worked with the U.S. president here in America to start a war and to create a false flag. That's what Sacrificing Liberty is all about. So we could be in a situation right now where Mr. Netanyahu is days, weeks away from being carried out of the prime minister's office in handcuffs or a straitjacket, and President Trump could be weeks away from being defeated for re-election.
are part of their own version of NATO.
Right. Armenia is part of what's called the Collective Security Treaty Organization. It's kind of the Russian version of NATO. So you've got Armenia, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and so also former Soviet bloc countries, but they're in an alliance. Ironically, Azerbaijan used to be a member of that alliance until it was pulled into the circle of influence by Turkey.
So if Armenia attacks Turkey, Turkey can invoke Article 5 of the NATO treaty that requires all of NATO to come to the defense of Turkey.
And likewise, there is a reciprocal response on the CSTO organization. They could, Armenia, a Christian nation, Armenia could call upon the other members of their alliance,
Which
to come to
includes
their defense,
Russia.
which includes Russia. And there's also what we call a partnership alliance with China, along with this too, as an observer. So it is interesting to see how this could develop. This is one of those things, Rick, that people don't realize how global war can start with just a spark, just a little bit of dry kindling out there, and suddenly you've got an explosive environment that hits two global alliances against one another.
Somebody is some sick wacko desperately wants Russia and the United States to go to war. In the 22 years I've been doing this newscast, I have watched this heat up and then calm down, heat up and calm down. Somebody wants a war between Russia and the United States. There have been times I thought, this is it, it's going to happen. So here's another situation where Russia and the United States could actually be legally required to go to war against each other for a war that on the surface we don't have anything to do with, but I wonder how many other players are involved in it behind the scenes. Armenia claims Turkey is sending drones and warplanes to Azerbaijan. Doc, why is this sensitive to the Armenian people?
Well, the reason why it's sensitive to the Armenian people is because Turkey is responsible for the Armenian genocide. I said it, yes I did. Turkey is responsible for it, wiping out millions of Armenians in the early part of the 20th century. One of the times that we got deplatformed off YouTube before we were deplatformed permanently was when we came out with an expose on the crippling genocide of Armenia by Turkey and the subsequent decades of trying to hide the truth on that.
Bulldozing skeletons.
YouTube took down that episode of TRUNEWS.
Yes.
And all we said was there was a Holocaust.
Yes.
But we couldn't say the word Holocaust.
Right. But it genuinely was.
1.5 million Armenian Christians killed in 1914 to 1923.
But what's really interesting about this story is when we tie it in with the next one, Rick, because not only is Turkey sending drones and airplanes into Azerbaijan, another country is providing military assistance as well.
Who would that be?
Well, it's the greatest democracy in the Middle East, Israel. That's right, Israel revolutionized Azerbaijan, not Armenia's drone arsenal. Are the weapons working?
That's
They're
from
proud of this, Rick.
That's the Jerusalem Post. Israel revolutionized Azerbaijan's drone arsenal. So we have Jewish Israel and Islamic Turkey both arming Islamic Azerbaijan against Christian Armenia.
And these are
Am I
nasty.
following that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it exactly. These are nasty drones. These aren't just surveillance drones. They're one of the drones that Israel's provided to the Azerbaijans is a kamikaze drone. It's called the Orbiter 1K. It's called a loitering munition. Essentially what it is, it's a flying bomb. Sees a target, blows in, and murders it.
Just before we came out to the studio, I read an Armenian news article. I didn't bring it with us. I'll bring it for tomorrow. Again, this is from Armenia. And the article said that military planes were leaving an Israeli airport in the southern part of Israel, flying military weapons to Azerbaijan. So, again, think about this. Jewish Israel Yes.
these
Oh, yeah.
drones.
Yeah, the test. Yes, where they did the live testing.
And they were criticized for this. Oh, wait a minute. Is Israel legally allowed through its defense contractors to help another country kill another country's military? And that was the
As a
argument.
test.
The defense contractor was doing live fire product demonstration
Yes, against real bodies.
against real humans, Armenians, and Israel got away with it.
It'd be like Lockheed Martin getting to live test their weaponry against the Taliban as part of a sales expo.
Except the Armenians aren't the Taliban.
No.
They're good Christian people. Why is Israel involved in so many wars? Anybody have an explanation for that? I mean, every time you look at a war, somewhere Israel shows up. And even in Venezuela, there were reports of the Israelis involved in trying to start that war in Venezuela. They have their hands in so many places, and it's
They're not
all
the victims.
they're not victims. Oh, they always play the victim, but they're the victimizer. And they're always starting a war. It's always behind the scenes. They're always manipulating and orchestrating things. But their war advisors, their military advisors, are behind the scenes arming other countries to go to war. And they typically end up killing Christians. Seems Christian populations are the ones that they're after.
Yes.
We saw it in Syria. Those were Christians who were beheaded, crucified.
Burned in cages.
It wasn't ISIS. It wasn't Islamic ISIS. There's no Islamic ISIS. There's only the Israeli Irgun. That's it. Wearing costumes. You never saw the faces of ISIS, did you? They always had hoods on their faces. Perhaps that would be to disguise the identity that they were not Muslims, but that they were Israeli Irgun terrorists.
It's not the first time Israel has done something like this. If this is the case, Eli Cohen, for example, a master spy, pretended to be Iranian, pretended to be Muslim, but really was Mossad the entire time.
Hey, I'm going to jump down to number 15 because we're only 10 minutes away from the debate, and I know our audience is going to want to switch over. This is for real, folks. This is it. South China Morning Post. Does this U.S. military uniform suggest it is preparing for war with China?
So the story on the patch is, Rick, that there's an exercise that's going on called Agile Reaper, which is kind of a dreadful name for an exercise, in my opinion.
A Reaper?
Reaper. And so the picture on this, that's a drone with a targeting sight on there, and of course you got the Grim Reaper centered on the drone.
Which represents death.
Right. Well,
So that's a death drone.
that's a death drone. So that message is apparent.
And it's
Well, what's
going
the
over
target?
China.
That's China. That's listed there.
Edward, where is this patch being worn?
This is being worn at the drill's location, actually in California. And as part of this drill, they're not just testing the drones, the Reaper drones specifically. They're also testing amphibious assault missions, like what you saw on D-Day. They're also testing the deployment of nuclear submarines and naval carrier operations. Eric, this drill, which clearly shows China in its patch, is they're preparing for war in the Pacific.
Netanyahu's preparing for war with Iran, and it looks like the U.S. is preparing for war with China. Could we be going to war with both of them at the same time?
And you've got the conflict, Armenia.
And in Russia. Oh my.
We could have World War III in days. I mean, we really, really could. And that's how quickly it starts, Rick, isn't it? History tells us that.
Think about this again. The Armenia-Azerbaijan, it's not conflict, it's a war right now, because those two countries each belong to a military alliance. NATO could be brought in for Turkey, and Russia could be brought in for Armenia.
Yes.
Then you get this death drone flying over China on a military patch. You could have a war with China coming up, and then you have an Israeli attack on Iran. This is really troubling. This is taking place right now because you've got three different theaters that together would be one horrific, massive, global world war.
And it would truly be a world war.
Started by madmen. Totally mad, insane men. Church, pray.
Yes.
Pray against the spirit of slaughter. That's what it is. The spirit of slaughter. The slaughter of tens of millions, hundreds of millions of souls, most of them unsaved, be swept into eternity in a heartbeat, lost, unsaved, without Christ. Pray against that spirit of slaughter that's rising up right now. All right, we're going to talk briefly about the debate. It's coming up here very soon. There are, 6 topics. They're going to be debating here tonight. The records of both Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden, the Supreme Court, coronavirus, COVID-19, the U.S. economy, race relations and violence in our cities, and the integrity of the elections. The Trump campaign made an unusual request today to the Biden campaign. What was it?
They requested that an independent third party inspect the ears of both candidates prior to the debate.
Want to see if they clean their ears?
That and for electronic device, that either candidate wouldn't be able to have talking points fed to them, or really words
Or
in general.
voices in their
Yeah,
head.
voices.
But that would never happen in a debate, would it?
Well, people suspected that Hillary was wearing a device.
She was very quick with her retorts, and especially with facts she didn't think she'd bring up. But this was also paired with President Trump's request that a drug test be administered to Joe Biden prior to the debate.
Why would he? Does he think Joe Biden's on crack?
A cocktail of amphetamines, maybe. Something that would turn him from being sleepy Joe to able to debate Joe. Well, the Biden campaign has requested for a break. 2 of them, actually. They've the first time in history, the candidates asked, they don't want to be on the stage for a full 90 minutes. Every 30, the Biden campaign wanted the ability for Joe Biden to be able to exit the stage and do whatever he must back in the palace.
So Mr. Trump wants to look at Mr. Biden's ears, and he wants a blood test. And Mr. Biden wants to get off the stage for every 30 minutes.
It's not an unusual debate at all, is it, Rick?
This is going to be... And I would pay to watch this. It's like a pay-per-view boxing match.
Oh, you get it for free at TRUNEWS.com.
Yeah, I would pay to watch this one. Look, Joe Biden, I personally feel sorry for him. He shouldn't be running. I think the Democrats ought to be ashamed of themselves when Joe Biden's through this at his age. There is a serious possibility he is going to greatly embarrass himself tonight. And if that happens, Mr. Trump's greatest peril will be that he comes across as a bully who's beating up on a senile old man.
That's right.
Even though Mr. Trump is probably older than Joe Biden, or same age, I don't know what their
He
age is.
seems like he's actually President Trump's 74, Joe Biden's 77.
Oh, okay. So Mr. Biden is okay. But that's a risk that Mr. Trump will be taking. That if Joe Biden is slipping and saying really dumb things and seems to be incoherent, then Mr. Trump is going to have to be very careful how he handles it.
Merciful.
Yes, and because people will be sympathetic and they'll turn against Mr. Trump. I mean, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if it's almost like asking the referee to stop the fight. You know how embarrassing. I would be embarrassed myself as an American. I say embarrassed. I would be hurt. That's the right word. I would feel sympathetic towards Joe Biden.
Yeah, empathize. I think anyone with a heart can
Nobody
empathize.
wants to see an elderly person stumbling in front of 100 million people.
Because we all know the politics of our country. And it would show that we've devolved to the point where it's okay to beat up an old man.
But hey, there's also the possibility that their strategy has worked. They've kept him locked up in his basement all summer, where we're now into the fall, and they've kept him rested, and he gets one. That's their strategy.
That was a ruse.
That's the strategy. They kept him rested and focused, and he has to hit a home run tonight. And so don't rule that out. He may do that tonight. It may be the one and only time, but if he does it tonight, then he dispels all of the doubts that he is not mentally and emotionally up to the job.
What I don't want to see is I don't want to see a 2-on-1 debate where President Trump is debating not just Joe Biden but Chris Wallace as well, which I mean we could actually see happen here. We know the odds are stacked against the president because of the nature of the debate. So
Yes. Well, hey, listen, we've got a lot of other news. We'll save it for tomorrow, and there's some amazing stuff that's come out about the 2016 campaign involving Hillary Clinton and some dirty tricks. We'll save that for tomorrow's newscast. We're going to end right now. Remember, we will be back at 10:30 Eastern Time with live commentary, but we will be chatting on TRUNEWS.com. So if you want to join with us while you're watching the debate, we'll also be chatting at TRUNEWS.com, and then we'll be back here live at 10:30, 90 minutes. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow. Well, I'll see you in 90 minutes. Take care.
decent.